Hi, this is Out of the Blue, a podcast about all the great things that are coming out of the TU Delft. And I'm Janus Keller, and I'm not in Delft, but I'm at home. That is because we're in isolation, just as everybody else. And we were thinking maybe it's good to do a free dive to look into different students' homes to see how they're dealing with this COVID-19 crisis and maybe what kind of creative solutions they have for that. And this is part of a three-part series. And today we're talking to Yongqing Fei, or Jackie, if we're talking English. And she is a student coming from China, and she has already been in isolation before, and now she's back in isolation. So, hi, Jackie. And we're talking to you from your home in Delft.
Yes. It's a dual apartment. It's a one-person single apartment. So I'm living by myself.
Oh, nice. And let's dive into it. How was your day today? So what happened and how are you doing?
I'm doing well. So I got up at 8 o'clock. I made my breakfast. And at 9 o'clock, I had my coach meeting with my other three teammates for this class called USAD, User Experience and Assessment Design. So that was there's a coach meeting every Thursday morning. So we did that completely online with our two coaches. And then after that, we had an individual Zoom meeting to discuss about the results from the meeting. And then in the afternoon, we're gonna meet again.
So it's all meetings. And are you still designing stuff within those meetings?
Well, for this class, at this stage, we're doing user tests, which is kind of interesting because supposedly we were supposed to, do the test together because we're doing redesigning the Siemens oven. But at the moment, since we're all in isolation, we had to do the test individually. And that's definitely a challenge, but I think we made it through.
Oh, wonderful. But you have to do everything remotely now.
Yes, so that's really weird. You have to be able to express yourself in words really well, because usually imagine you're doing things together. It could be just one click on the screen, you just show each other how it works. But right now you have to really explain everything in detail. So we all are on the same page.
So what is the product that you are assessing and testing?
So for this class, we're divided into groups of 4 or 3 people, and we each get an existing product on the market. And for our group, we are working on this Siemens oven. It's a very high-end, not really nicely designed, because obviously there are problems. That's why we're redesigning it. But it's a very high-end oven, and it's a big one. So we don't really have the oven with us, for example. And when we're doing the user test, we sort of have to be creative and build an oven prototype using cardboards and other materials we can access to at our homes.
And normally you would operate an oven with a pan in your hand and then opening the door, and you cannot test this, or are you able to test sort of that stuff behind remotely?
Well, the way we did it was to, using whatever we have at home. So for example, a microwave from probably even another brand, but we cover it up with paper or cardboards. And then we have a screen slot, because we're doing the user interface redesign. So we have a little slot on top of it. And then that way we can test it. And we just invite, our roommates, but I'm living alone, so I invited a neighbor to come over to do the user test for me. I think that worked out, although it's definitely really challenging because we couldn't get that many participants. But I think we still got some promising data out of the test.
And do you think it's, so basically everything is off the rails now? I mean, it's different than it used to be. So yeah. Is that confining or freeing, or how does that feel? So worse or better results?
Well, we did feel a little frustrated because first of all, we couldn't get that many participants. Ideally we get 10 people to test it out, but I think at this moment we only got 4, and that's like really the most we could get out of it. And also like because we were all doing this test individually in our homes, so that the settings were very different. And when you're doing user test, ideally like all 10 or like all the participants should test it out in like the same setting. But at the moment we had like 4 different settings, so that caused some trouble because sometimes the test results were different, not because of the prototypes, but it's because of the settings or how it was conducted. So that was definitely one of the issues we faced. And also like we had to, like when we were making the user interface and the prototype, we had to like seek different materials, and like it's limited at home. So that was also one of the challenges. Yeah. But so far, I think we did it, and some of the results were meaningful. So in general, I think it's good, but we definitely had to spend more time and efforts to, carry it out.
Yeah, sort of be more creative and be
right.
more...
Yeah, that's the idea.
And so the reason that I contacted you is because in February I got an email like these students have to be in isolation. And I felt so sorry as a coordinator, sort of like, oh my God, these people come from a different country and then are landing in the Netherlands and they're all alone. Oh, we should do something for them. But now we're all in this. So can you tell me sort of your previous experiences and now, and sort of maybe as a experienced isolator, what can we do?
Okay, so I actually started my isolation like way before coming to the Netherlands because, like the outbreak has already happened in China in like late January. So basically like 3 days before the Spring Festival holidays, which is an equivalence of like the Christmas holidays over here, but it's in China. We do the lunar calendar. So 3 days before that, the outbreak of the coronavirus is all over like Chinese media and news, and people are like really panicking. So I started staying at home 3 days before the holiday started. And that was, I think, around January 20th. So I've been pretty much staying at home ever since then. But things were kind of different because back then I was with my family, and I wasn't like super concerned about the virus itself because I was so focused on like my travel plans to the Netherlands because flights are getting canceled. A lot of countries are like banning flights from China, and the flight companies are like canceling their flights. So every day I was like super focused and concerned about my flight, which is on February the 4th. And during the entire holiday, we stayed at home, and all my like party plans, my dinner plans with friends got canceled. My family didn't go out. I only like went out once to help my mom take out the trash. It was like my only chance getting out. And people are being like very careful because on the media, on television, like the government warned us at the very beginning how serious this was. Even though like in some provinces, there were like barely any confirmed cases, but we were like already careful. Like for example, my province, it is like really far away from the epicenter. It's called Jilin province. It's in the northeast of China. It's like super far away from Hubei province, which was the epicenter. There were like 1 confirmed case, but people were already getting like really cautious, and they're like also a little scared. Yeah, basically I stayed at home, and then I went to Beijing to take my flight. And that was the moment when I got like really cautious and even a little scared because, like Beijing International Airport is like a popular airport, it's busy, like people come from all over China and all over the world to this airport. But it was like very empty compared to what it usually is. And it was at the Beijing International Airport when I started feeling like a little panicked. Like I heard someone coughing behind me and I was like, oh my God. And I saw like people traveling to like different destinations to the United States, you know, they're of like different nationalities. I saw like American families, I saw like European families, French families, and they're all wearing masks. That was what I saw in China.
So when you came in the Netherlands, you first were in isolation, and then you didn't wear. Then you were you still wearing masks in the Netherlands as well, or
I
not?
was wearing the mask during my flight. I took a flight that's operated by Finnair, the Finland air. And during the flight, I wore a mask and gloves like for 10 hours. And the air hostess were also like wearing masks and gloves. The flight was pretty much empty, but I was still being cautious. But when I arrived at the Helsinki airport, I took off my mask because I knew like at that moment, there hasn't been like any confirmed cases in Finland. But my family like called me and they still wanted me to wear a mask because, you know, people are being exposed to these like news about the coronavirus like 24/7 back in China. So, but I didn't really wear it because it's uncomfortable, first of all. And I thought like it's a little weird because nobody's wearing that. And the fact that you look Asian, you look Chinese, and you're wearing a mask at the airport, it might like cause panic. And I didn't really want that. So I took off my mask as soon as I arrived. And then like I had like my second flight from Finland to the Netherlands. And I didn't wear a mask during that flight.
And so you know that there's a movie out by another student from, I think she's from China as well, right? The Mask Dilemma.
Yeah,
We'll link it in the show notes. Yeah, so it's a movie about whether or not you should wear a mask and why, and how you communicate that to others. Have you seen the movie?
Yes, I did, and I saw the stickers they made. They had it.
Yeah.
On the
Can you explain what it is about?
So I think basically it was like a series of stickers of very bright colors and, you know, display fonts that you can like put on your mask, and they say things to explain why you're wearing a mask. So I suppose like the context must be in like a country like the Netherlands or the States, or, you know, countries where people don't usually wear masks, unlike East Asian countries. And they say things like strong wind or just being precautious, like not sick, just, you know, just to explain why you're wearing a mask. And it's, you know.
There's also one that says, my mother wants me to do this, or something like that. And that is
I think
similar to your experience, right?
Right, yeah. So there's like really a imbalance of information in like different countries, but I think like the project is really interesting and it did cause like some attention and hype. I think they also spoke at a conference recently, and I think that's cool.
What I would like to discuss with you is sort of after this. So we now have this, and it'll never go back to normal. There will be a new normal, which is sort of a better awareness of physical distancing, not social distancing, but physical distancing. And how will that change us as designers and us as educators? And sort of how are your ideas about that?
So first of all, like we discussed yesterday in the Idea Academy about innovations. And one of the students said like, you know, social crisis or, you know, special occasions like this is one of the factors that could have accelerated innovation. And I think I agree with it because, you know, as designers, we can totally see like some problems that normally we ignore, like, how important it is to have like medical resources, or like how important the work have been done by like medical people, you know, doctors and nurses. So I think we tend to like ignore those issues when everything's normal, but at this point we certainly realize that. And it's also like really important for me to think about like inclusiveness, because it definitely have emerged in this situation. Like for example, right now, I really, really feel the pain of people, with physical disabilities or like old people when they, couldn't go outside that much, or they have like a very limited resource compared to, younger generations. So I think it's really a good time to think about these issues and, really continue paying attention to these issues, even after this pandemic.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's one of my
And of course, the education will also change, right? So of
Yes.
course, I think we will still have to be in a, I mean, we're not going to be doing these kinds of tests without people forever. We will at some point be together again, be together working in workplaces, but so some things we're easier to sort of think, oh, why not do this remotely, right? So
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially like as designers, if you're doing like just screen-based design works, I feel like that could totally be done like remotely, like
yeah.
home, like in a more comfortable setting to save like commuting time and stuff. So that definitely is a positive part of this. And also like I feel like education can also like be somehow coordinated online, at least for like lectures,
Yeah.
Although it's like a little hard to stay like focused when you are at home, just inches away from your bed. Um,
And you know that it's very hard for a teacher to talk without sort of an audience in the back, right? And there is
yeah,
the questions that you have. It's harder, right? It's different.
right. Yeah, I can imagine that too, because people sometimes turn off their cameras and also mute their microphones. So it must have been like really weird for lecturers and whoever gives a presentation to just talk to an empty screen
Yeah.
of dark backgrounds. So that really like also give us like the opportunity to think about the importance of human action, no, I mean human interaction, like
It.
to what level it should exist and to what level it's like not so necessary. So
All right, I have to. So we're having such a great conversation, but our producer Mark via the chat tells us it's time to wrap up. So let's get those tips out. So normally at the end we share tips for people to sort of consume, do whatever. No, yeah, like visiting a museum, which you cannot do right now. But I have one tip, which is I'm a big fan of Gary Hustwit. He's a director who makes movies related to design. His most famous one is Helvetica, the movie. It's about sort of the fact that Helvetica as a font is everywhere in the world. But he also made a movie called, a documentary called Urbanized, a documentary called Objectified. And he also, I have this shirt. It's the book about, the documentary about Raams, Dieter Raams, the designer of Brown. So, and he's giving away his movies for a week. He's screening them online for free for a week. I bought all of them. You can still buy them. But now these Corona weeks, you can each week watch a different movie on allprettythings.com. Well, we'll put it in the show notes because I'm miswriting it. But it's really nice. Every week you can watch a movie that is made by Gary Hustwit about design. So that is my tip. So do you have a tip for the audience to sort of think about?
yeah, so my tip is even though you're working from home, you don't have to like dress up as you normally do, but I do advise to when you get up to take off your pajamas and just dress up a little bit to to remind yourself this is the start of the day, and before you go to sleep do something to tell yourself it's time to call it a day. So
Oh, wow.
helps you to like keep a healthy schedule, because for a while I've been like having trouble falling asleep or waking up when you're like staying indoors for like weeks. And also I've been catching up on the episodes of Black Mirror.
Oh, wonderful. That
Yeah,
cheers you up.
yeah, I have like missed a lot of like episodes, but now I think it's because you're staying indoors, you cannot like go outside. It's a good time to catch up on the things you have been missing, like you know, calling friends or starting a show that you have long been wanting to watch. Just things like that. I think it's a good time to recap and reflect on life, just in general.
All right. So thank you very much, Jackie. It was wonderful talking to you. I hope your studies will progress smoothly.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah. And I hope to see you physically or digitally sometime soon.
Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.